Yeah, I don't know what it is for some. Yeah, I don't know. They never seem to work for me. I know it doesn't work for the Sim account, but it sometimes works for my personal account, but sometimes not. It's very annoying.
Hi, everybody. We'll be getting started soon. While we're waiting, if you want to, there's a little chat button at the top. It's like a bubble with lines in it that takes you to the chat. While we're waiting, if you want to just put in the chat where you're joining us from, that would be interesting, just to see where people are coming from.
I'm just publishing I did a little blurb on Jesse's volunteer work at the Municipal Archives. So I'm just putting that on the website.
Oh, excellent. That's great. Okay, from Grand Prairie. Excellent. Andover, Massachusetts. Saskatoon. So we got some Westerners. That's excellent. And from Halifax. Okay, and one Easterner. Yeah, we did this session at this time of day thinking it might be more convenient for people in the western part of the country, but it works for people elsewhere as well. So we'll just wait for another minute or two and then we'll get started. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else jumping in, so maybe we'll just get started, and then if people do join us as we're going, that's absolutely fine. We're going to record this anyway, so people can always play it back and see what they missed. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name's Vivian Howard, and I'm the acting director of the School of Information Management. And we've also got Janet Music, who is our Master of Information graduate coordinator, and Kim Humes, who is our School of Information Management administrative assistant. So between the three of us, we are the admin team, and between us, we can answer hopefully any questions you might have. Especially Janet and Kim, they know everything. So I'll be deferring to them most of the time when you ask questions. But by all means, you can use the chat to ask questions. And I'm going to start just by going through a fairly brief PowerPoint that just gives kind of a high level kind of umbrella picture of the school and some of the key information that you might want to know. And then after that, we'll just open it up for questions. Anything you'd like to know, we're happy to answer. So I'm now going to share my screen. And I'm going to try doing it a little bit differently so I can actually see people. It's just uploading. Hi, Philippe. Okay, can everybody see that first slide?
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's great. I'm doing it a little bit differently so I can actually see if people put things in the chat as I go. So that's great. So yeah, I'm as I said at the outset, I'm Vivian Howard. I'm the acting director of the School of Information Management, but I kind of come at these sessions with two different perspectives because I am also a longtime faculty member in the school. I started teaching in the School of Information Management way back in 1996, which now seems like a very long time ago. Time has gone by way too fast. But before that, I was actually a student in the program. So I have experience as a student. I can speak a little bit about my experience in the program. And also, I'm an alumni of the program. So I'm also connected into the alumni network. So I sort of approach this wearing several different hats. But when I did the program had a different name. The school had a different name, and the degree had a different name. So SIM is actually 50 years old, celebrating really the 50th anniversary this year of the graduation of our first cohort of students. It was founded way back in 1969. And the first graduates crossed the stage in 1971. So we've been around for 50 years. But as you can see, from this slide, it's been an evolving identity, and really the names of both the program, the school, and of the degree have evolved over time to reflect the changes in the profession. That now increasingly information is as important as libraries. We began as really a library school, but then fairly quickly information became a major focus. And then we recognized that our degree was broader than just a library and information degree. That was too limiting. And so we wanted a name of a degree that made it very clear that this was a broad degree where people with the degree could go into a variety of different professions. They weren't limited to a library or an archive setting. So we did change our name a few years ago. So now our school is the School of Information Management, and our degree is very simple, the MI, the Master of Information. And the next slide really, poses the question, why is an MI degree a good choice for somebody in the year 2021? What is it about, this particular moment in history that makes this a good degree? And I think everybody, just if you listen to the news at all, you constantly hear, discussions about misinformation, fake news, the spread of information through social media, the importance of, having verifiable and accurate and credible sources of information. An MI degree can really help in that process, help support, credible, authentic information, and also prepare individuals to be able to assess and use good sources of information. So increasingly, in an age when we're kind of drowning in information, there is just so much information coming at us all the time. Our degree really gives you the tools to be able to use that information well and accurately and effectively. But even more important, because you're here to learn about the MI degree here at Dalhousie, what is special about our degree is really, I think, in many ways, our very unique community feel. We have a small program. It's a small school. Students are in a program where they are part of a very strong cohort. So in your first term in the program, if you enter the program, in the first term, you take all of your courses together. It's all core courses, and you're doing all of those courses with your cohort. So you develop very strong connections with your classmates. You also develop very strong connections with the faculty in the school. And I would say that all of the faculty are very accessible. They have open doors to students when we're physically on campus. When now we're operating in a virtual environment, professors are very accessible through email, through Teams calls. I think we've got a very strong and closely knit community. We've also got, a sort of a cluster of faculty members who are very active researchers. So they provide students lots of opportunity to get paid work experience as research assistants. We've also got a growing undergraduate program, so students can work as teaching assistants. And there's lots of other ways to get paid work experience while you're in the program. There's lots of opportunities in Halifax to do internships at various libraries and information settings. We've also got a really great and very active student association and a very engaged group of alumni. So it's, I think, a real community that when you're in the program, you're connected to your fellow classmates, you're connected to the faculty, you're also connected to the alumni, and lots of opportunities for mentorship and for learning from our alumni members as well. One thing we're doing for the first time this coming year is hiring a professional in residence who will be kind of an adjunct member of the faculty and will be doing professional development workshops with students, preparing them to write cover letters, resumes, get ready for interviews. And we think that'll be a really effective addition to our program as well. One thing that's important to know about our degree, especially if you are interested potentially in working in a public or an academic library, most libraries in North America require a degree from an ALA, that's American Library Association, accredited program. That's a minimum requirement. And our program has been accredited continuously for 50 years since it graduated its first class back in 1971. So we have had an excellent series of accreditation reports. And at our last accreditation visit, we were given the longest possible period of accreditation, which is kind of a mark of confidence in the strength and quality of our program. So it is accredited for anybody interested in a professional life in libraries. We do offer that. This slide talks about the various areas of competency that you achieve if you do our degree. So these are the skills over the course of our degree that our core and elective courses will contribute to. So when you take one of our courses, you'll be able to see on the syllabus how the learning outcomes of that particular course map onto these competencies, how the assignments reflect these competencies. So by the time you finish your degree, you'll be pretty confident and pretty comfortable that you've achieved many of these competencies and are feeling quite comfortable and confident in your skills in these areas. This graphic, and we need to change the name of the degree. It's a little outdated because it refers to the MLIS, and it should be the MI. But this graphic really illustrates the difference in our degree, which is a professional master's degree, versus a research master's degree. And like many students who come into our program, I entered the program with already holding a master's degree. So I had an undergraduate degree in English. I went on and did a master's degree in English. I couldn't have entered my MA in English if I didn't have an undergrad degree in English. It's a requirement. You need that undergrad degree to go on to the research master's. In our program, because it's a professional master's, we take students from any disciplinary background. So if you've got a degree in music, if you've got a degree in fine arts, in history, in political science, in sociology, in biology, in chemistry, in engineering, in computer science, in law, in medicine, we take anybody with an undergraduate degree. And many of our students also have graduate degrees. So as long as you meet our minimum entry requirements, you can enter our program from any disciplinary background. And that's one of the things I think too that makes our program really exciting is the diversity of our students, because we have students in the program who have everything from, an undergraduate degree in sociology to a PhD in Celtic studies, to a degree in fine arts from an art college, to a law degree. So it's a very diverse group, and you do get to work with and learn from your classmates because of their diverse disciplinary backgrounds. Some of the other features I think that make our program particularly strong are the opportunities for work integrated learning. You do, as part of our degree, a required practicum, a 100-hour practicum in between your first and second year. Our current first-year students are just finishing their practicas right now. But there's other opportunities in the program for experiential learning. So many of our projects are very practical, giving you the kinds of skills that you will actually be able to use in the workplace. Some of our courses even have client-based projects where you're working with a real world, quote unquote, client to complete a project that really fulfills a need that the client has. So it gives you that very applied work experience and experiential learning. For example, our Management Without Borders course, which is listed on this slide, is a unique course. Students in all of our professional master's degrees in the faculty take that course together and then work in interdisciplinary project teams with a client to complete a project to satisfy a client's information need. So it is a really unique opportunity to get really valuable experiential learning while you're in the program. In addition, as I said, we've got a very engaged student association. You can volunteer by joining the SIMSA executive. SIMSA also organizes an annual conference, and we have a student journal. So all of these are opportunities to get involved and get some extracurricular experience while you're in the program. We offer an academic support series, and we also have a very, very flexible and customizable degree. So while you're in the degree, if there is a particular topic that really seizes your interest, maybe you write a paper in your introductory information in society course, which is one of the core courses in your first term of your first year, and you want to explore that topic in more detail, you can always do an independent directed reading course where you kind of design your own course and do that under the supervision of a faculty member. Or you can even do a thesis, which replaces 4 elective courses and gives you the opportunity to do a really deep dive and some original research. So that is another option. When I was in the program, I did the thesis option, and I really kind of got the benefit of being able to, propose, undertake, complete, and write up an original research study. So that was incredibly valuable experience for me. So those are all, I think, really positive and very strong features of our program. And, the team, the admin team, and your academic advisor, and you will all be assigned academic advisors if you enter the program, are very happy to work with you to help you customize and design a program that really fits your interests and your needs. These are our list of core courses. We have 8 core courses. So in your first term of first year, you do 4 courses a term. All 4 courses in your first term are core. In your winter term of first year, you have 2 core courses and then 1 core course each in the following 2 terms in your second year. We also offer a variety of certificates. These are quite new options in our program, and they've proven to be really popular. To achieve a certificate, you essentially need to take 3 courses focused on a particular subject area or topic. And you can see the options there: librarianship, youth services librarianship, archives, information policy, etc. So you can easily graduate with our master's degree and also 1 or even 2 certificates that help give you a little bit of specialization and are a really tangible way of saying to an employer, I've really customized my degree in this way, and I have demonstrated that by achieving this certificate. I would say, and I'm saying this, sort of unapologetically as a member of the SIM faculty, our faculty are really extraordinary. I think we have more award-winning teachers in our SIM faculty than any other small school at Dalhousie. And they are recognized as being very strong researchers, very strong teachers, and very open and accessible and very willing to work with students. We also have a variety of different research clusters, and many of our faculty are active researchers in more than one of these clusters. Many of our faculty members are very interested in hiring students as research assistants. So this is a really great opportunity if you're interested in a particular faculty member's research agenda, or you just want to gain more experience working as a research assistant. There's always postings that we will share with you for research assistantships. And we've also got a really great group of award-winning alumni, beginning with the image on the top left-hand corner, that top row. That's Donna Bourne-Tyson, who is Dean of Libraries here at Dalhousie. She is an alum of our program. And all of these faces on this slide are all alumni from our school who now work across the country, across the world, in a variety of really interesting settings, and who are continuing to be engaged with the school. Many of the people on this slide come back to SIM annually, either to teach a course or to be a guest speaker in courses. They're very engaged with our alumni network, and you'll have lots of opportunity, either in reality or virtually, to meet many of our really outstanding alumni. And then, of course, Dalhousie itself is, one of the really great and really well-recognized universities in Canada. It celebrated its 200th birthday 3 years ago, so it's now 203. It's the oldest English language university in Canada. And it's a member of the U15, the 15 research intensive universities in the country. So when you come to Dalhousie, you're really coming to a great and very long tradition. And it is, a degree that is recognized not just across Canada, but around the world. Now, many of the questions that Janet and Kim are getting from prospective students concerns the fall term. And what is the fall term going to look like at Dalhousie? So our president, and our provost have announced that the fall at Dalhousie will be a return to more in-person learning. Over the past year and a few months, we've been entirely online since March 2020. But we're hoping that in the fall, we'll be transitioning back to a more in-person campus. Right now, it looks like, based on people's or programs' timetable requests, about 80% of Dalhousie classes are going to be in person in the fall. And we will be doing that transition back to in-person learning safely using a variety of strategies, including masking in inside spaces, availability of hand sanitizing, hand hygiene, some limited physical distancing within classes, traffic control in and out of classes, upgrades to our HVAC and air circulation system. So we're pretty confident, and Dalhousie has really been, I think, a leader in post-secondary in the Atlantic region in modeling, good safety for students and faculty and staff on campus. So we're really, pretty confident that with that kind of leadership, we will be able to make that transition back to in-person safely in the fall. So within SIM, what is that going to mean? Well, what it's going to mean is largely a return to in-person classes. So most of our classes will be in person. But in the fall of first year, we are offering one core course that will be online. And we'll have at least one and maybe more electives that will also be online. And there's always the opportunity to do a directed reading course, and that can be done virtually. So even if you can't come to Halifax or you're anxious about coming to Halifax, we can certainly work with you to explore options and to put together a program so that you don't lose time. You may not be doing the same program or the same suite of courses as your classmates who are here in person, but you can certainly be making progress on your degree. So I think, we can guarantee that we can work with students to help them plan a course of study so that they can do courses even if they're not able to come physically to Halifax. Okay, so that is it for my presentation. I'm now really happy to stop presenting, turn it over to you to add your questions to the chat. Anything you'd like to talk about that I've talked about, that I've covered, that you'd like more information about, or anything I haven't covered that you would like to discuss. We're very open to whatever you'd like to talk about. And I am going to stop presenting. I'm hoping it's now gone, right? Good.
Still there, but maybe it's a second.
It shouldn't be. Okay, well, let me try and get rid of it.
Did you click stop sharing?
Well, I'm doing it in a different way and I don't see that option. So now I'm just confusing myself.
If you just close the slideshow too, that might work. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I really don't know.
But feel free to ask any questions.
Yeah, just go for asking questions while I try and figure out how to close my slideshow. This is what I get for trying to do something different.
We often get, does SIM have any merit scholarships or awards? So the answer to that is yes. We have a suite of entrance scholarships. The deadline for that has passed. We've actually given those out because those go out in March. But Dalhousie has a number of scholarships that students can apply for. Actually, there's hundreds of them. You have to take the time to go through the list. Some of them are very niche. So, children of military personnel or, students studying specific like vitamins or specific topics, people from certain countries. So you really have to take the time and go through the list. We do have a couple of scholarships coming up in August that are needs-based, and they are anonymous, so based solely on need. And then Dalhousie has is part of the Tri-Council funding initiative. So this year we had 4 students apply for Tri-Council funding, and that is social sciences and humanities, engineering and health, and we live mostly in the social sciences. And we had one student who was successful. So that's a $17,000 scholarship that Jordan received, and so he will be funded to write a thesis. So it's been my experience, both personally as a student and as someone who, is in contact with a lot of students, that the students that go looking for opportunities are the ones that get them, because a lot of students don't bother to apply, and many scholarships go unclaimed. So last year we had a $10,000 scholarship to give away, and only one person applied, and that person got that scholarship. So it happens, and I would urge you to look into it. And in terms of September intake, if you are a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, then you can absolutely apply to the program up until August 1st. It's closed for international applications. It's a very lengthy process for international students to participate in, and there's no guarantee that visa restrictions would be lifted in time for them to start in September. So permanent residents and Canadian citizens for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Kim, I know you would say apply by August at the latest, and August is getting a bit late, but we don't have like any other firm deadlines when people have to apply. But as soon as possible is always a good answer. So, but we are still open for September.
And to clarify, we do normally have an April 1st deadline for Canadian applicants, but we've just waived it this year because of the pandemic, just to give people time to, since the situation is so fluid, to give people time to make their decisions. So like August 1st is kind of what we're saying is the drop dead deadline for Canadian applicants, but like the earlier the better. We would definitely recommend that you apply as early as you can, just so you have time to plan for the fall term. So, and the deadline is passed for international, but you can apply now for next fall. I mean, it's very early, but you are welcome to apply now. I think the applications are available online. So, by all means, apply for next year now. Then you have lots of time to plan ahead. And we generally make decisions as we go, as we get applications. So you might have to wait a little bit of time while we prepare for the fall term and kind of get into the fall term, because it's quite busy at that time. So, we may not be able to get back to you till like October or November, depending on how busy we are. But again, you are welcome to apply now for next fall if you want to.
And I see Alex has a question about Halifax, but I think I'll just address the January intake.
Yes, I was going to say that's related. Yeah.
And so the answer to that is it's complicated. And so generally speaking, we do not take people in January unless they already have a bit of a background in information management, just because the courses will be out of sequence and we're not setting students up for success that way. That would be an individual decision. So it's a case by case. So I would say reach out to Sim at Dal and ask those questions.
And it does happen. There certainly are, not maybe one student a year, or sometimes two will start in January, but we do like students to start in September, so they have that opportunity to have orientation and then you're part of a cohort when you're in September, whereas when you start in January, you're always kind of in between two.
That's right. And also people who start in January tend to stay longer just because of the way the courses are offered in sequence. So you can count on staying 2 extra semesters because because the fall courses are only offered in the fall. So you'll miss one fall and you won't graduate the May you're supposed to. You'll have to wait till December of that year and then you don't graduate. So it's complicated. But Alex wants to know about living in Halifax, and what a fun question.
Yes, that's an awesome question.
Where to begin? Alex, I think you're in Massachusetts, so climate would be very similar. It's raining all the time and it's sunny all the time. And you just have to wait 5 minutes and the weather will change.
They film movies here that are set in Massachusetts all the time,
Yeah.
so it basically looks the same.
It looks the same.
New
And
England.
there are 4 major universities here in Halifax, so it is a university town. There's a lot of young people here, and a lot of activities that cater to young people who are of the legal drinking age, for sure. Dalhousie has a beautiful campus that's spread across the city. So we're on the main campus, which is in what we would call the South End. And then, the engineering campus is right downtown next to the gorgeous library that they built a few years ago. And then the medical library, the medical campus is kind of in between. So it's a very young city, I would say. The cost of living has been increasing significantly. So one of the strange, I would say, externalities of the pandemic is that people are no longer place bound. And so many Haligonians or Nova Scotians who had started their careers in Ontario are moving back to Nova Scotia and buying up a lot of houses. So that's really a question for the student representatives. And if you want me to connect you with someone, just send me an email and I can connect you with students who have moved here and can better answer those questions. Because to be honest, I haven't rented an apartment here in a long time, so I can't really answer that question. But Dal is in what we would call a student area. So many of the houses are student accommodations in and around this neighborhood, and it's a lovely old neighborhood.
Yeah,
it's a strange mix of wealthy, established Haligonians and students. So it's an interesting area for sure.
Yeah, and I'll say, because I'm not from Nova Scotia, I moved here from Vancouver. And our plan when we came here was that we were going to stay a couple of years. I was going to do my degree and then we were going to go back to Vancouver. That was the plan. And we never left. We just stayed. We fell in love with the city. My husband was teaching at there's an art college that was founded by Anna Leon Owens, who is, if any of you have ever seen the movie The King and I, she was Anna from The King and I. Anyway, it's a lovely old art college. He was very happy there. We just never went back to Vancouver. We stayed, and that is now like 30 years ago. So you have to be careful when you come to Halifax. I tell people you come and you just don't leave, because it is really a lovely place to be. It's beautiful. And I know people laugh, but being from Vancouver, I think we get a ton of sunshine in Halifax.
It's true.
Compared to Vancouver, it's way sunnier.
I would say we get summer late here, but once it's here, like it's more like June really before it's summer, but it's so beautiful. And then it goes later. So usually it's summer up until like Thanksgiving, which, in Canada is October. Like mid-October, it's still warm. It's actually still warm up till Christmas, in a lot of cases. So, relatively little snow compared to like a lot of places in Canada. And, it's relatively temperate here. You don't really get like super extreme weather, which I really like. It's never like minus 30 in the winter and like plus 40 in the summer. Like it's pretty temperate. So I really like that. I love being by the ocean personally. There's just no comparison to that. Just being able to go to the beach, and there's just something with the ocean and living by the ocean that is really great. So a lot of people come here for that because you're really close to the ocean pretty much anywhere. It's like a pretty small province. So what I really like about Halifax is that it's like big enough that there's always stuff going on. There's always lots of events and lots of there's lots of great restaurants and breweries, and there's always something to do, but then it's small enough that it has a real community feel. Like people are friendly generally and there's people just really kind of look out for each other and stuff like that. there's not a lot of people. I think we have 1 million people in the whole province, something like that. So it's pretty small. And, you know, we have a lot of access to nature here too, like great parks and trails and things like that, like close to the city. So, and I would say relatively, it is getting more expensive, but I mean, relative to other cities in Canada, it's still quite affordable. And our COVID cases overall, like, have been very low as well. We've been really lucky here in that way. So, yeah, I love living here. And I mean, I could go on and on about this all day, but I won't.
I think has a question.
One other thing about Halifax, just as a side point, is that it's small enough that you can walk everywhere on the peninsula, so you don't need a car. I mean, and if you do have a car, traffic's not bad. You know, there's buses. But when I lived on the peninsula, I don't anymore. But when I did live right in Halifax, I never drove. I walked everywhere, and it's very easy.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Kashika, do you have a question?
It was a lengthy question, so I just figured I would like talk rather than like typing a whole paragraph.
Sure.
Now you mentioned that it's not too late for getting into the September 2021 intake. That being said, like, can students still apply for scholarships? I know the deadline for that has passed. So how would that work?
So we actually we've given out our entrance scholarships already to people who the deadline for scholarships was March 1st. So you've missed that kind of cutoff. There are scholarships that rotate through the year. So the significant scholarship that I was talking about earlier, the deadline for that is December 1st. So you could work, and it's a significant piece, like a proposal that you would do. And so we're working with students through the summer and the fall to get together some of these proposals to apply for some of these larger grants. And then I just recommend going through the list and seeing, you know, making kind of a spreadsheet for yourself of what you're qualified for, when the deadline is, and what it is you actually have to submit. And, you know, I'm a student myself, and I use my Outlook calendar, and periodically I go through that list and I see, you know, there's a scholarship that's just for women in agriculture, which is where I study, and it's due in December, and I put a note right in my calendar to apply for that. So you're going to have to hustle a little bit when it comes to looking for scholarship money. It's there, but you need to look for it. Yeah. Otherwise, you know, you can apply early for 2022, and if you're, you know, if you qualify, then you would be considered for an entrance scholarship for 2022.
And Alex has a question about sort of timing issues. So Alex is a current junior in college. Is it better for those in that position to wait until they get their first semester senior year grades back, which would be January 2022, or could we apply earlier in fall of 2021? So
can that be a GPA question, I guess?
Yeah, just to clarify, I just want to make sure I'm understanding the question. So, so you would be starting your final year in September? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately, this coming fall would be too early for you to apply in that case, because I'm guessing you would graduate. Your plan will be to graduate next spring, so spring 2022. Correct me if that's wrong, but that's what I'm assuming. So in that case, you could apply for next fall for sure, because even if you don't have all your marks at the time that you apply, that's fine. You just submit, you know, an initial transcript, and then once you graduate, you could submit a final one. You would have to do that, and we would just use fewer grades for the GPA calculation. So if you had, normally we do the last 60 credit hours from the transcript, but say you have like 5 half credit classes that aren't completed yet, we would do 45 credits instead of 60. So yeah, unfortunately, you know, for fall 2021, timing won't really work out, but you can apply. You could apply now for next fall, but I would say it might be a little early where you still have like quite a few credits left in you. I would maybe potentially wait until the fall term. You could apply maybe in December or January when you have more of your marks.
So I see when Ying has a question about advanced standing. So if that's a library tech diploma from an SCC or a community college, we don't accept those courses. Unfortunately, Dal only takes university level credits into consideration. So advanced placement is very rare. We don't offer it very often. More common would be advanced standing. And we would have to talk about that on a case-to-case basis. But the only type of transfer credits you would get for a master's degree at Dal is other credits at the 5,000 level in a master's degree. And I will say that we have many students who already have a master's degree, master's in engineering, master's in English, master's in pharmacology, and they don't qualify for advanced standing because it's a different degree. So you would have to demonstrate that you already met the learning outcomes of the courses that we offer. We also get PhD students here as well, and you know, generally speaking, the PhD students don't even ask for advanced standing, which I find kind of amusing. And you know, if coursework has already covered something that you've done extensively, then you know that will be an easier path for you than maybe a person who hasn't experienced it before. But it has to be at a 5,000 level or above. But I will say, in terms of internships or the practicum, if you are working at a library already, then we would consider that as a practicum done. So what we would have to talk about that on a case-to-case basis. But if you're already working in a public library, you can count that as the practicum degree requirement. So you wouldn't have to do something over and above. Though I do recommend students to take the opportunity in the practicum to do something that's completely different than what you had set your mind to do. So if you think you want to be a librarian, then it might be a good opportunity for you to try out archives. It's pretty low stakes. And it would give you a good taste of what it would mean to be in a different career path than the one you envision yourself. And then you never know, you might find the thing that you love. It's certainly happened.
Yeah.
I've
got a question about transcripts.
Yeah.
Kashika's saying, I received an official transcript from my university when I graduated. Is that sufficient, or does it have to be an official record sent directly from your previous university to Dalhousie?
Yeah, I can answer that. So unfortunately, grad studies does require the transcript to come directly from the university. Even though everything's electronic right now, our normal process is sort of paper-based, but since the pandemic started, we have switched to a virtual process. But the good thing is they can email it to us. It doesn't have to be a paper one. Most universities have kind of set up different sorts of accounts and stuff to be able to do that. So they should be able to do that no problem. If they can't, for whatever reason, just let us know, because we just have to have that in writing. Like grad studies is usually okay with that, as long as we have it in writing that the university can't fulfill that for whatever reason. But if they can, yeah, they should be emailing it directly to sim@dal.ca. If you have a transcript yourself, you can email that to us initially. So just for the sort of to complete your application and to give it to our admissions committee, that's fine. If it's not an official version from the university, it can just come from you. We just need to have the official one from the university before your application goes to grad studies, because we sort of do the initial acceptance, but then we send all the apps to grad studies for the final review, and they do the final acceptance and do the official letter and things like that. So there's sort of two steps. So hopefully that makes sense.
So, and Andrew, yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Janet.
I was just going to answer Andrew's question.
Sure, go for it.
The application essay, so when people meet the minimum cutoff, that's, we kind of move on to look at the essay as kind of the determining factor of whether or not this degree is right for them. And what you really want to show in your essay is that you understand what we're trying to do here, what your career goals are, and how the Master of Information will fit into what you want to do and what you're going to get out of it. So, I mean, certainly you can talk about your musicology topics, but really what we're looking for is an understanding of, and it doesn't have to be complete, it's not a dissertation, but an understanding of information management that's not, so oftentimes we get, because information is such a wide, has a lot of meanings, we often get essays from people who are actually looking for computer science. So they're writing their essays talking about software development, and that's not what we do here. We're information managers. So, and, data stewards and information sages. We're not developing software. We're not doing those kind of hard skills that you would get from a different degree. So that's really what we're looking for proof of. There is a lot of group work in the degree. So we'd like to see that you've encountered group work in the past and that you're comfortable with doing group work, because despite the fact that many people just want to sit in a corner and read books, I don't know of a single job that will pay you to do that. So we want to make sure you understand that being a librarian, if that's your goal, or being an archivist, is actually about access to information and about serving the public, because that's essentially what librarians are. They're public servants now, right? And so, Kim, there was also a question here about former professors as referees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that from Andrew? Sorry, I'm just trying to follow.
Yeah. Could
I see.
former
Yeah.
professors or research professionals with whom I've worked be possible referees? And I'd say, yeah.
Right. I see that. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah,
Actually, they should be, if they're academic references, they should be people that taught you. So yeah, they ideally should be professors. We require a minimum of 2 academic references. So if you've been out of school for more than 5 years, you can do professional references instead of academic, because we understand that, sometimes if you've been out of school for a few years, it's hard to you haven't kept in touch with your professors. That's fine. You can provide professional ones instead. But yeah, if you've been out for less than 5 years, generally we do recommend academic, just because this is an academic program, and obviously that is going to give us a better sense of how you're going to perform in an academic setting. So, and you can submit more than 2 if you want, but 2 is the minimum.
Yeah.
And Andrew's also asking about submitting writing samples, and I'd say don't. I think the essay is really what we're looking at, and we can get a good sense of how good a writer you are and how good a communicator you are from the essay. So I would just focus your energy on that essay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. They're not required. I'm not saying they would hurt anything, but yeah, it's better to focus on putting your time and energy into the actual required documents.
And Alex is asking about the workload, the 4 courses per semester. And, it really varies. I mean, we have a lot of students who are doing 4 courses. They're working well, maybe not a full-time job. Full-time, I think, is like way too much. But they're working a part-time job and managing that quite well. I'd say 4 courses plus a full-time job would be too much. If you mean like a 30-hour-a-week job.
So they say for every course credit, you should allot 20 hours a week. So, I mean, that varies. Certainly we have people who are doing 4 courses a semester and working a part-time job. That is significant, but it can also be quite stressful. Everybody is different. we don't recommend that, and we'd rather that you get the most out of your time here with us because it's such a short amount of time, and working does take a significant amount of your emotional energy, which would be better served poured into courses. But having said that, we realize that you have to pay rent. So it would be recommended that you would go down courses instead of going down job if that's what you want to do. And the per fee structure is set up so that you pay by the course, not by the program. So in my MA, it was a program fee. So I could have taken one course or 12 courses. It would have been a set amount of money, but we're set up by course fee. So each course is, I don't know, $1,200, and the more courses you take, it goes up by that amount of money. So to be considered full-time in our program, you have to take 3 courses, but many people go, go full-time, then go down to part-time, then go back up to full-time. We don't designate that. It's automatically designated by the amount of courses you take. And grad school is like yoga. It's not about what it looks like from the outside. It's about how you experience it. And if you need to do it a little bit slower than your peers because of your life, then that is totally acceptable to do, I would say. And then I'll just jump in.
Sure.
So the MI is an accredited program that takes place primarily face-to-face and is 16 credit hours, and is geared towards younger people coming out, or people just coming out of undergrads, generally.
No work experience needed.
No work. The MIM, on the other hand, is for mid-career professionals. It is not accredited. It's offered in a blended format. You could potentially do it all online, but it's in a blended format, and it's significantly more expensive. But it's fewer courses. So there really isn't any overlap other than our Kim Humes here, who is actually a MIM student and works in the MI office. But I think that's just coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah. And the program actually right now is all online. They do have the majority of the course is online, and then there's a in-person intensive at the end of each course, but that in-person part is actually online right now because of the pandemic. So right now the program is, and it is self-paced online. So again, it really, and you do have to have 5 years professional experience. So it really is geared more towards people that work full-time, that are trying to upgrade their skills, that maybe have families and things like that. They're not able to study full-time. You can obviously do the MI part-time as well, but the MI is mostly in person, and it is, you don't have to have that work experience piece. Yeah. So it's just a different audience, I guess, that they're targeting.
And the accreditation, they don't have a thesis in the MIM, but the accreditation is the significant portion. So if you are looking to have a career in libraries, archives, museums, or GLAMS, libraries, archives, museums, galleries. Then the accredited program will serve you well, because many of those positions require accreditation, whereas the MIM is not accredited. So I wouldn't even think of it, even though it's offered through our school, they're very different. You can go through the whole MI degree and the whole MIM degree, and you will never cross paths with the other program. We only have a few more minutes, so I just want to answer this question about working full-time. If you are working full-time, and it's not like if you're waitressing or if you're working in retail, you will have to take time off to do the internship, because it is a very specific requirement of the degree, and you need it to graduate. And we don't waive it just for any job. You have to be supervised by an MI professional and working in the MI environment. So if you work in public service, for example, so we do have a number of students who work for the federal government, and their job is in privacy, or their job is in communications or it's in information management of some sort, they can use their current job as a proxy for the practicum. But we also have students who work in retail and they need to take time off to do the practicum. And I'm not to denigrate retail, because that gives you very specific skills that I think will serve you for life. But it's just not information management is all.
Okay, I think we have 1 minute left, so we're just about out of time. I'll just, reiterate that if you have further questions, and this has been great, so thank you very much for all of those questions. They've been excellent. Any other questions that may occur to you once this session is over and you're thinking afterwards, oh, I wish I'd asked that, you can always email sim, S-I-M, at dal.ca. And that will immediately connect you with Kim, who will answer all your questions. And that is your best way to follow up if you have other things that you wished you'd asked about. So thank you very much for your time. I